Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras.
And I'm Natasha Kircha. Coming up in today's newscast, American communities scramble to respond to increasing anti-Semitic attacks.
A Palestinian man receives some shocking, identity-shaking news.
And we'll meet the man with the key to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem's Christian Quarter. Now, unfortunately, we are entering the new year in the wake of some of the deadliest anti-Semitic attacks in the United States to date, and the numbers seem to be picking up speed, especially as New York's new bail law is now in effect, essentially removing most of the deterrents from would-be assailants.
Well, just to highlight the severity of how often these attacks are actually really happening, we've put together a list of just some of the crimes of the past few weeks. November 11th, 3 youths throw eggs at a Jewish mother and child. It's the 5th assault in 48 hours in Borough Park, New York. Then a week and a half later, on November 20th, a 29-year-old Orthodox teacher is beaten and stabbed on the way to synagogue in Muncie. On December 10th, 4 are killed in the New Jersey shooting targeting a local kosher supermarket. At the same time, a school dance recital in Poland angers many as kids depict being gassed to death by the Nazis. Then December 19th, the Paris Appeals Court upholds that the brutal anti-Semitic murder of 65-year-old Sarah Halimi cannot be tried because the killer was high on cannabis. And on Christmas Eve, a man wearing religious-looking clothes is punched on his way home. Then December 27th, 3 women are slapped and a shooting is threatened against the Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters. December 28th, 5 Jews are injured by a machete-wielding stabber who entered the Hanukkah celebration in Muncie, New York. 1 victim may have permanent brain damage and could be partially paralyzed for life. This is the 8th anti-Semitic attack during the Hanukkah holidays. And finally, January 1st, 2020, 2 women are arrested for attacking an Orthodox man in broad daylight in Brooklyn.
In other news, United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is now thanking Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu for Israel's support of American action against Iran in the Middle East following the attack on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, Iraq. Well, here now to discuss these events, we have Greg Roman, the director of the Middle East Forum. So, first of all, why did this attack on the U.S. Embassy take place?
It's because the United States finally stood up to Iranian actions, which have been taking place in Iraq and other Middle Eastern countries over the past 6 months. The U.S. reacted, and the Iranians felt like they had to double down.
But why now? Why did it take so long for that reaction?
Because it was the first time an American contractor was killed. That kinetic fire from an Iranian-sponsored Shia militia terrorist organization led to the death of an American contractor. Once blood was spilled, America had to respond or look weak in the rest of the region.
So what are the implications of this response? I mean, we're seeing more troops heading to the region right now. How is this going to play out?
It either escalates further, we'll have more tit-for-tat attacks, finally leading to potentially a direct confrontation between Iranian and American forces, or it'll continue to be a proxy battle. What we'll really tell is how the president, not how the Ayatollahs, respond.
What do you think will be a more likely outcome, and what is Israel's role in all of this?
Well, Israel's been the only country allied with the United States, which has both taken hits from the Iranians and given it back. The Saudis haven't responded, the Emiratis haven't responded, the Egyptians haven't responded. It's the first time that we see anyone besides the Kurds fighting directly against Iranian interests. So now that the Americans have joined, perhaps the battle has been stacked against the Iranians rather than in their favor like it's been for the past few years.
Wow.
Now, it's interesting because I think it was about a week ago that the IDF Chief of Staff spoke out and said, we're alone in this battle against Iran. That's how it feels. And then all of a sudden, we see the strike. Is this perhaps a response?
No, Aviv Kochavi has been, for the last 9 months, I guess, since his appointment in March of last year now, always taken the battle to the Iranians on their front. He's been asking the Americans to join in, but it's been signals intelligence, inviting them to participate in exercises. But now you see for the first time the U.S. and Israel, hand in hand, both striking out against Iranian presence in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and the rest of the region writ large. So I think it's finally this coordination he's been asking for, showing that he's no longer alone in the fight.
Right. Now, I guess the final question is, because we're running low on time, would just be, you know, if you could delve a little bit more into what this means for Israel right now. in the current state in which, Israel has been battling Iran?
So you have had Iran manipulate the region for the last 17 years, since the Iraq War in March of 2003. And Iran was always one step ahead of almost everyone else, except for Israel. The U.S. was always behind fighting them. The Gulf allies were always behind fighting them. Israel was always sort of alone in its battle. But now that you've had regional discontent against Iran coming from the Syrians, from the Lebanese, from the Iraqis, and the Americans have now shown that they will no longer allow Iran to play the game by their rules, but now by American rules, I think this is a net benefit for Israel. And we'll see that the U.S. and Israel working together may actually come to have Iran backtrack its progress and perhaps go back to its borders rather than influencing us here on ours.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us with this update. All right. Now get this. The IDF has just created a new type of combat unit, and it's the first of its kind in the world. This month, IDF soldiers are arriving to their new base to be trained as part of a combat unit that has never before existed. But what will they be learning? Well, the unit is bringing together infantry, ranks, combat engineering, and air power to teach its members new fighting techniques and tactics. Now, the unit doesn't have a formal name or official tag yet, but for now it's being referred to as the multifaceted unit. And its goal is to teach its members to operate in all fronts of war. Now, the central characteristics of the units are a high level of fitness and an ability to locate, attack, and destroy the enemy in all regions and on all levels. This multifaceted unit is all part of the IDF Chief of Staff's new momentum plan, to make the military more lethal and effective against modern threats. Of course, this is very general, but they're not really, allowing us to have any more information right now.
Incredible mixed unit, yeah. But returning now to politics, it's no longer just an unconfirmed report. Prime Minister Netanyahu has officially now filed his request for Knesset immunity against the 3 corruption cases that he faces indictments over. The Prime Minister submitted his official request Wednesday evening, just hours before the deadline. And Netanyahu reiterates, however, that immunity for elected officials does not prevent lawsuits altogether, and he adds that he does not and has not ever attempted to obstruct the chance of a trial, as long as it happens after he's out of office. Meanwhile, in related news, Netanyahu is still forced to resign from his other ministerial positions after already having found replacements for the Foreign Affairs Ministry and the health portfolios. But before he can even name the remaining 3 of his appointments, he's facing backlash for promoting Deputy Health Minister Yaakov Litzman to full minister, particularly from the Australian Jewish community, which holds serious questions about Litzman's handling of the case against alleged child sex abuser Malka Leifer. Leifer faces 74 counts of child sexual abuse from the time she was principal of the Adas Israel Girls' School in Melbourne, Australia. And Litzman, as Deputy Health Minister, has been implicated in executive interference surrounding Leifer's extradition.
Now, it can take hours to select just the right Ben & Jerry's flavor, right, Aaron? And that's largely because the famous ice cream company puts a lot of work into selecting the names and, of course, ingredients behind every tub. And now, Ben & Jerry's Israel needs your help to come up with the idea for a brand new flavor. That is right. It will be released just in time for third elections. You may think that ice cream and politics have no place in the same sentence, but Ben & Jerry's is creating a new flavor called Third Time Ice Cream to commemorate the historical third elections that Israelis will be forced to endure in just 3 months from now. Now, they just have to figure out what will be in it. Israelis have suggested a malabi and bamba flavor, which would combine the 2 popular Israeli snacks. Others have recommended salted caramel and ricotta with strawberry jam, a za'atar spice flavor, pop rocks, and something that leaves a so-called bitter taste at the end. That's no surprise, since the nation is pretty tired of heading to the polls. And that's why Ben & Jerry's Israel is creating the flavor in the first place, to get Israelis to go out and vote. Well, ice cream certainly is a good incentive for voting now, isn't it?
It's a great incentive, but please go out and vote either way.
Yes, please do that, of course. But
moving
enjoy some ice cream while you're doing it.
Exactly. It's a good incentive. But moving on, Israel has the world's highest rates of the use of IVF, or in vitro fertilization, per capita. In fact, in 2014 alone, 4.5% of Israeli births came about through IVF, and that number has only been rising. But what are the benefits and the risks with this treatment?
Well, joining us now to discuss is Dr. Hananel Holzer, the director of IVF Centers and the deputy director of obstetrics and gynecology at the Hadassah Medical Center. So why is IVF, this treatment, so popular in Israel? Kind of give us a one sentence on what it is for those who don't know.
Okay, first of all, we know that fertility and reproduction is the first commandment in the Bible. It's very important to the Jewish and Muslim population. Secondly, the coverage for fertility treatments in Israel is the most generous in the world. As opposed to many other countries in the world, in Israel, a couple could have as many IVF cycles as they need till they have 2 children.
Right, and it's covered by the health insurance here,
Yes.
whereas you have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in other parts of the world.
Yes.
And IVF is a treatment that's for people who are having fertility issues,
Yes.
ultimately, right?
We know that 12% or 15% of the population encounter challenges in the way to become a family.
Right. So the treatment in Israel is subsidized by the state, but why is that the case?
As I said, fertility is a very important issue, both to the Jewish population and the Muslim population.
And the Christian.
And
I
the
mean,
Christian.
I think worldwide.
Yep, and Israel has a special attention to having children, having large families, so the coverage is very, very generous, and everybody is interested in fertility.
So what demographics are getting IVF treatment the most in Israel, and what are the benefits and risks, I should say?
And actually, it's across the board. I think that people who encounter challenges or difficulties in getting pregnant, as I said, around 15% of the population.
Of the general population?
Of the general population,
Wow.
yes. They approach us and we evaluate their fertility potential and offer treatments. And the most common treatment is in vitro fertilization, where we collect oocytes or eggs from the female partner, we fertilize with sperm of the partner or donor's sperm, and we transfer an embryo, preferably one embryo, to the uterus and wait for a pregnancy.
Well, you know, I know that in the United States and outside of Israel, most of the people who go through IVF are often doing it because of age-related issues. Is that the case here? Who is doing this?
Yeah, it's the same in Israel as many other things. It's very complex. Some of the population see us very young, the Muslim population, the ultra-Orthodox population, even the Orthodox population. As for the other parts of population, the same as the Western world, people defer their plans for expanding or creating a family, so they see us in the older age. And we know the most important factor for success of fertility treatments, it's the age of the female partner.
Right.
So success rates of treatments in the 20s are 50-40%. And after the age of 40, it's less than 10%.
Wow.
So when people defer their fertility plans and they see us after the 40th birthday, it's much more challenging.
Well, it's certainly interesting. I think there's also a growing movement of medical tourism to Israel as a result of how the high quality of treatment that you have when it comes to fertility issues here as well.
Service, though,
but thank you for joining us and telling us about
Pleasure.
this.
Thank you very much.
All right, now here is an intense story. A man who was raised in the Gaza Strip has just been reunited with his Israeli Jewish mother. She finally managed to track him down 30 years after he was abducted by his Palestinian father.
The 30-year-old man, who is being identified as Muhammad, has received full citizenship under Israel's right of return, which allows automatic citizenship to any Jew who wants to live in Israel.
His mother gave birth to him 3 decades ago when she was a teenager after having a relationship with his father, a Palestinian man. But when their son was 6 months old, the father took the infant with him and moved to the Gaza Strip without telling the mother a thing.
Now, she's been searching for him all of this time and finally found him after the organization Yad Le'achim helped track him down. And when Muhammad got the first phone call from his mother, he could barely speak Hebrew. And now, after 2.5 years of lessons, the two can finally communicate, just in time for his return back to Israel.
All right, now get ready to Netflix and chill, because there is a new docu-series to binge on, and it's all about the mysterious death of a Jewish prosecutor in Argentina who was on a mission to prove Iranian involvement in a terror attack against the Argentine Jewish community.
On January 18th of 2015, Alberto Nisman was found dead in his apartment with a bullet in his head, just hours before he was set to testify against the Argentinian president. The prosecutor had been investigating the 1994 terror attack on the Amia Jewish Center in Buenos Aires that left 85 people dead and hundreds wounded, and he had established that the Iranian-backed Hezbollah terror group was responsible for the terror. He was set to accuse then-President Cristina Kirchner and her government of ignoring Iran's involvement, all in exchange for commercial benefits for Argentina.
Ha habido una alianza con los terroristas. Se ha negociado con el Estado que ampara a los terroristas.
Pero usted está diciendo que el gobierno de Cristina Kirchner hizo una alianza con
El
los
Poder
terroristas.
Ejecutivo, y ahora le voy a mostrar por qué.
This interview happened just 4 days before he was set to testify in front of a congressional panel. But before he could prove his claims, he was found dead. Was it a murder or a suicide? Well, that's exactly what Netflix's new series called The Prosecutor, the President, and the Spy is all about. The show examines Nisman's death without drawing its own conclusions, but features interviews with major figures, including current President Alberto Fernandez, who has just won national elections, with Cristina Kirchner as vice president.
Well, it is certainly going to be interesting to see how the Argentinian leadership is feeling about this docuseries, but moving on.
At any rate, yes, the old city of Jerusalem is divided into 4 distinct quarters, and ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh has been exploring them all. But this week, she's taking us around the Christian quarter. So, Emmanuel, take it away.
Welcome to the Christian quarter in the old city of Jerusalem.
In the Christian quarter, you could say that the heart of this specific quarter is the Church of Holy Sepulchre,
Exactly.
which is considered to be the place where Jesus was crucified and buried.
Exactly.
Amazing. Let's go check it out.
According to traditions dating back to the 4th century, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is said to be the place where Jesus was crucified, buried, and resurrected, and has been a major destination for Christian pilgrims. We got to meet the man who holds the key to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
So this is the only key to the Church of Holy Sepulchre, and you open it every morning?
Every morning at 4 a.m. And we close the church at 7 p.m. every day.
Wow, that's amazing. Look how... This is the only copy, so you're not allowed to lose this copy. You're not allowed to lose it.
This is in the hand of our family since 1187, since Salahuddin Ayyubi. And it's going from father to son. In this day, I'm the man of the key. In the future, it will be one of my sons. Thanks God, I have 3.
Oh, he has 3 sons to hold the key, so don't worry about it. None of us are getting it anytime soon.
The Via Dolorosa leads to the church and is the route Jesus took bearing his cross to his crucifixion. The route starts in the Muslim quarter and ends at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which holds the last 5 stations of the cross. The Greek Orthodox Church of St. John the Baptist is also a very important stop in the Christian quarter. The church, which can be recognized by its silver dome, has a crypt that dates back to the 5th century.
See just a kind of a funny door, and it's a hotel, but underneath one of the biggest churches and the most beautiful church that we can see. It looks exactly like a Greek Orthodox church, but actually the people here are Greek, but they decided to switch to Catholicism. And this is a Catholic Greek church now, praying in Arabic in this place. In many churches like this, you'll be able to see Jesus on the cross on one side, and next to it, you'll see Jesus taking out from their graves Adam and Eve, redeeming us from the ancient sin of them eating the fruit of knowledge and then being kicked out from paradise. God locked the doors for us. After our death, we couldn't go to paradise again, to heaven. And by dying on the cross, he broke the doors, and now we can go there.
Very, very cool. I want to go to Jerusalem now. All right, now winter can be tough. Let's face it, the cold, the rain, and the snow can get you down, but it can also be tough on your skin, which is why you really need to know how to take care of it. And joining us now is Imbal Busquila, the public relations and makeup expert at Jade Cosmetics. So first, before we get into the products here, tell us a little bit about some of the issues that we face in the winter.
So everyone feels our dryness in the winter. Outside, it's really cold, and our skin cracks, and our lips, we can feel it in our hands, our lips, and our face.
Every year, like clockwork, it happens to me. And also
exactly.
the heating
and the heating inside the house, and the outside is cold and dry. Yeah. So I have a few tips for us just to continue looking great and glowing in the winter. So my first tip, is actually when do you apply the moisturizer? So no one really knows, but you should apply your moisturizer after your shower when it's steamy and warm and your pores are opened.
I definitely don't do that.
And your skin is damp. So immediately after your shower, you should apply your moisturizer, and I would recommend, first of all, to apply the serum Okay? Because that's very hydrating and moisturizing. This is Aqua Jolt Intense Hydration Serum. I love this. This is for every single skin type.
Oh, he's going to steal all the products. I know.
This is for every single, this has hyaluronic acid, which also retains the moisture inside. And I would massage it into the skin. And then we have Hydra Sublime. This is a royal pomegranate overnight oil recovery.
This is for overnight.
This is for the night after your shower, before you go.
Moisturizer after your shower.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm taking serious notes here right now.
So one of the things that people don't know, that at night is our time for our body to recover, and that's the time that you should actually be very, very generous with what you put. You should massage it into your skin. And then we have this Gold Premium Firming Night Cream, which is amazing. You have to try this. This is really one of our best sellers.
Well, one of our producers is already speaking very well of this.
Yes, and it gives you moisture and also creates like, you know, it keeps it in. It keeps everything that you already applied.
Like a shell.
Yes, exactly.
So you wake up glowing.
Yes, exactly. And then I have another tip. Is don't forget to moisture in the morning. Mornings are time where you put your makeup on and you're meant to look good for the rest of the day. So if you don't apply your moisturizer in the morning, then your makeup won't look so great. Don't forget our neck. Our neck.
Yeah, the neck is a big thing that I always forget about.
Exactly. So this is Retillage, which is our Jade, very, very known. It's anti-aging. You should try and smell it. It's amazing. All right. It's actually very based on cells.
It's light.
So
it's got a very light smell.
Amazing. It's amazing.
And these are all Israeli products. So
these are all Israeli products.
But you can order them online as well, right? Even if you're living abroad.
It's like worldwide shipping.
Exactly. 2-3 days.
Amazing.
Really depending where you are. And then I'll jump into one of our very, very important tips is if you want to look glowing, what do? My secret is I put a few Everglow liquid, like it's a glow, it's a shimmer highlighter that I put this with my makeup. So actually, I put a few drops with the foundation and then I apply it on my skin. This is amazing and glowy. You should see this.
And
then you just look glowing.
I can already tell that Erin's about to steal all of this.
Some
of it's mine.
It's not stealing if it's already mine.
And last thing, just the primer. Don't forget primer.
Of course.
The makeup will be long-lasting.
I think at this point, we have everything we could possibly need to not have dry skin in the winter. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Jade products, you can order them online, and I'm taking all this home,
Definitely.
Erin.
Thank you so much.
So back off. On that note, let us take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight should be partly cloudy with scattered showers and a low of roughly 47 or 9 degrees Celsius. That's very cold over here. And then over the weekend, get out your umbrellas because most of the country is set to get hit with rainstorms, and average high temperatures will sit at about 58 Fahrenheit or 14 degrees Celsius.
And now, before we go, let's see what's trending in Israel on tubing.
לימור, בואי רגע. שימי את הידיים רגע ככה. כן, שימי ככה. תורידי טיפה למטה. תני לך.
All right. You can clearly tell that they want her to stand there.
I feel like something terrible is about to happen, though.
No, I think they're just playing a simple joke on her. She can't move her hands now. She's stuck.
And you're wrong. No, that's awful.
You win,
That's
Erin.
terrible.
Oh, yeah, that is actually pretty terrible. That is pretty terrible.
It's just mean.
Little bit funny. A little bit funny.
Mostly just mean.
That's like what we used to do when we were in.
I guess, but that is it for today's news, Natasha. Today's exchange rate is 3.46 shekels to the American dollar. For more news from ILTV, please like ILTV on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. I'm Aaron Porras.
And I'm Natasha Kirchuk. Thanks for watching.